Dots. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm the host of the MoneyFitMD Podcast. This is where we help badass women physicians just like you learn simple and effective tools to build wealth from the inside out. That way, we can create wealth and bigger impact without all the burnout. Enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode on the podcast, on the YouTube, or wherever else you're catching us from. Today's episode, I want to talk to you about how you can get rid of the stress, really, that comes from potentially having debt. I am Dr. Latifat. I'm a physician and I'm also the founder of the MoneyFitMD Money School for Women Physicians, which is where we teach women how to create the money and also the freedom that they want of finances, but also of their time and life. We do that through our 12-month coaching program inside of the Money School, where we teach women physicians how to take the income they're already earning and how to amplify it so that it can actually help them create wealth and freedom. But also, we want you to be able to create your own wealth in life. So we do those two things together. And, when I reflect on it, I formally registered MoneyFitMD about, I want to say, 3.5 years or so ago. And it's just so humbling to me to see the work that we've done inside of the Money School. Let me make sure my mic is working. Good. I was like, is this mic working? All right. I didn't see the light. Normally it turns like this blue light. I'm like, want to make sure that light's working. Anyways, it's just so humbling and amazing to see the work that we've done inside of the Money School. We have people that come in with debt. We have people that come in without debt. But the key is whatever your financial goals are, whatever you're trying to accomplish over the next 12 months, that's what we do. We have some people that extend over 12 months. They see that they're growing, they're doing amazing things. And now in their next 12 months with us, they will choose other goals, which may be, to travel more, and maybe to invest in a certain number of investments or have a certain number of goals, like whatever your goal is, as long as you want to have more money, more time, more freedom of time, and have control over your life, we have room for you. And you're a woman physician, of course. It's not for everybody. We schedule calls with everyone because I've literally had conversations with people and I'm like, I don't think we're the right fit. I don't think you are the right fit for us. We're trying to scream the crazies out, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, my point is I want to help women physicians that want to grow, women physicians that want to find a safe space to be able to grow their net worth and not be judged. You know how like sometimes you're out on the streets and people are like, but you're a doctor, you should be fine, but you already have, maybe they're like, you already have multiple six figures, or you earn a great salary, or you already have 7-figure income. Like, why do you want more? I see they get to decide your life for you. So what I love is that our community, there's no judgment. You get to decide what you want to go. We have people whose goal is to get to their 8 figures. We have people who are trying to get to their first or next 7 figures, first or next 6 figures. It doesn't matter. As long as your goal is you want to curate a wealthy life of freedom and be able to live life with what I call 2 butt cheeks, let's talk. So the way you can do that is you can send an email to concierge@moneyfitmd.com, and we can schedule a call, get to know you, know your goals. And the bottom line is, even after a consultation with us, you will be able to leave with a plan of what your next course of action will be, even if we're not the right fit for each other. So anyways, would love to chat if that's something that you're interested in. And the reason why I want to make sure that's clear is if you look at the time of this recording, it is May. A lot of times people talk about New Year's resolution, January 1st, December, everybody and their mama are freaking out, doing all those goals. And then we forget about it. Like, quote unquote, life happens, right? And now it's like the middle of the year and time is gone. And now we're going to do the same thing again next year. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're taking actions. We're creating results. Our life is too precious. Our time is too golden for us to keep wishing the same thing year in, year out, saying I'm going to get to the money stuff. I'm going to build my finances. I'm going to cut down at work. I'm going to spend more time with family. I'm going to pursue that dream that I know that I'm meant to pursue. Like, whatever that is for you, we want you to get going on it. Okay. So back to the debt stuff. So this stuff is so, so important because I cannot tell you how many women physicians I've talked to that the whole idea of debt and debt they have or debt they could potentially have causes so much stress for them that it actually maybe keeps them up at night. And I've seen this at every single level of debt. So this is not even based on how much you have or not have. It doesn't matter what your net worth is. It doesn't matter how much debt it is. I've had people, with maybe $20,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt, 200, 400, $500,000 in debt. I've had people net worth is like multiple seven figures. Net worth is like, single seven figures. Like, this is not a respecter of your net worth. And this is not a respecter of how much debt you have, but it is based on a lack of understanding about the reason behind the worrying about the debt, the reason about the stressing out about the debt. Okay. And for those that may not know what debt is, the way that I think about debt is literally money that you borrowed and you said, I either want to purchase or buy these things and I don't want to use my money, or I don't have money for it. So, for example, you may have money and decide that you want to invest in real estate or you want to buy a business, and you're leveraging debt in that situation where maybe you put in down 20% and you're borrowing 80% from the bank, right? You may have money, but you want to buy multiple properties. And so you're leveraging in that regard. Or the same could be happening for a business where you're buying a business, putting down some money down. Maybe it's even like owner finance or whatever, seller finance, excuse me. But like the bottom line is whatever this is leading you to borrow money that is at an interest, which is the cost of what the money that you're borrowing. For you, it may be commercial debt. It may be debt from shopping. It may be debt from Amazon. It may be student debt. It may be like debt from you paying for your kids' college tuition. Like, it doesn't actually matter. The bottom line is the amount that you're owing is causing you stress. And I know exactly how this feels because when I started my own financial journey, I thought all you had to do was save money and pay off debt and you would have freedom and you'll be rich and you'll be wealthy and you'll be able to practice medicine on your terms. Except, I did that, saved the money, paid up the debt, and I was still like, she ain't got no choice, right? And that's when I was like, there is more to this. And that's when I started learning the things that I've learned that I've now incorporated in my own life and taught many women physicians that are now able to create the life and freedom that they want. However, I remember having a conversation with my husband where, our first argument was, let's pay off the debt. And then I was like, oops, done. Didn't get what we wanted. Well, now let's go into debt, but let's buy assets and things that generate income for us instead. And we started doing that. But that meant that we now went from being debt-free to not being debt-free anymore. And right now we're not debt-free in that regard. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I guess the first thing is just letting you know that there's no shame in your game. There's no shame in your game. And that's why it's so important for us to be able to have these conversations, because the lack of space to have these conversations without judgment and shaming is why so many people are left to their own thoughts in their own backyard and thinking that they are the only people that have debt. They are the only people that, have made mistakes in the past. They are the only people that have a freaking past, right? And that's why I'm so invested in creating the safe space for women physicians, because when we're carrying so much shame and judgment and not sleeping well at night, it's actually more hurtful than helpful. I mean, we are physicians, so I don't have to spell out all the health implications of not sleeping at night, but I happen to be a GI doctor, so I'm going to talk about that. We all know about IBS. I mean, I tell my patients all the time, if you're not sleeping well at night, your nerves are not completely rested, they're not recovering, of course they're going to feel like crap. Abdominal pain, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, those things can happen, right? Being stressed out can impact your relationships. And when I think about us and I think about all the things that we're doing for the quote unquote for the sake of our family, quote unquote for the sake of our kids, but even now the time that you're having with them, you're stressed out because you're not being present, because you didn't sleep well last night, or because you kind of blame them partially because if it was not for them, maybe you would not have this debt that you have, right? And maybe for you, it's like student debt and you don't qualify for loan forgiveness. I mean, I paid off my debt before loan forgiveness. I have people that are paying off their debt even without loan forgiveness. Yes, it makes life a whole lot easier If you know what to do and if you're doing the right thing with the blessing that just landed in your front yard, right? But just understand that you're not hopeless. It is not impossible. Is that correct? It is not a promise. It is possible. There is hope, and you can sleep well at night, even when you have debt. I have the privilege of being in communities that outside of physician communities that are wealth building communities. And there are conversations in there that we are privy to. And there are times when someone that may have a 9-figure net worth may come have a conversation with us and, being interviewed about the nitty gritty of their journey and their experience and their finances. And most times when you see that especially people that have a lot of net worth outside of generational wealth, there's usually an element of debt that helps become a vehicle that tries to accelerate their journey. I'm not saying disrespect debt. I'm not saying go YOLO and all this other stuff that people may be doing. I believe that there is some place in between that we can assume when it comes to our relationship with debt. In fact, I remember, I think it was last year, I did a mini course that I called the Debt to Wealth Accelerator. If you guys are interested in purchasing this mini course, definitely you can go to moneyfitmd.com/DWA, so D debt, WA, Debt to Wealth Accelerator. And it's a 4-week mini course where I literally talk about my thoughts about debt, how you can go from like letting debt hold you back to using it as a vehicle for freedom. And we go through coaching in there, so you would see interviews of other women physicians just like you that I'm chatting with and coaching about how they can go from where they are to being in a place of like having a plan for their debt. Because at the end of the day, your brain does not know the difference between whether you have debt or your debt is not, whether you have debt that is about to be paid off or debt that is not about to be paid off. Most times what your brain is looking for is like a toddler. Your brain is asking you the question of, do we have a plan? Do you have a plan? That's the question that your brain is asking. But many times when we're not sleeping well at night, when you're like overstressing, when your relationships are now vulnerable because you don't have the mental capacity, because you're not resting well, because you have debt that is quote unquote so much, right? What that ends up doing is you don't have a plan. And when you don't have a plan, then your brain freaks out. So the number one thing I always tell people is number one is this. Understand that your debt that you have or not have doesn't tell me anything about you. Doesn't mean anything about your value. The presence of debt does not mean that you're a horrible person and that maybe your 7 figures that you already have is a fluke, or maybe your 6-figure, or maybe your almost 6-figure that you have is a fluke, or maybe you don't even know what your net worth is, and that's okay too, for now. But you should know. I want you to know. So email concierge@moneyfitmd.com because we need to help you like get your finances organized. Then, well, not we need to help you. You and us need to do it together. That's how this works. You do what you need to do. I do what we do, and together with that, magic happens. That's what we do inside of the Money School. We create magic in collaboration with you. That sounds amazing, actually. I just came up with that. Y'all are like, let's see if that's crazy. Yep, and I tell people, guys, I'm good with you thinking I'm crazy and knowing the crazy, because the bottom line is this. I want you to not be deceived or fooled. You already know what you're getting before you're able to come. So if you're like coming into our money school, you already know what you're going to get. You're going to get the crazy Latifah, and that's all good. It's better to know what you're getting than for me to pretend like I'm perfect. And you're like, what? You burp? You fart? Yes, I do. I'm a human, just like you. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. My apologies. No, sorry, not sorry. Sorry. Okay, let's see if I cut it out. Okay, back to the debt. So my point is this. Number one is the amount of debt you have or not have has nothing to do with your value. So many times we make the amount of debt we have mean something about us. What are you making your debt or the absence of debt mean about you? Maybe you think you don't have debt, so that means your value is now higher than someone that has debt. No, money has nothing to do with your value as a person. So whether you owe $1 million or you owe $0, It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your value as a human. And I need you to understand that so that you can calm the heck down. So that's number one. Number two is this. What freaks out your brain isn't the fact that you have debt. What's freaking out your brain is the fact that your brain does not believe or know that you have a plan yet. So if you don't have a plan for how you want to pay the debt off, then you need a plan. And for some of you guys, you're going to go, I'm never going to pay the debt off. I'm just going to have it until I kick the bucket. Then let your brain know that that's the plan. And for me, like when we have investments, our goal is that the investments, the cash flow is paying down the debt. So at some point in future, maybe a long time from now, the investment properties will end up having potentially no debt. Depends on how big we decide to scale, but potentially no debt. So we have a plan. So anytime my brain wants to freak out about the debt, my job is to remind it that we have a plan, right? We have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you need a plan, right? And then the third part that I always tell people is I want you to be specific about the plan. Like waving your hand and not being specific is like someone saying, well, about maybe potentially, you're like, what's the plan? Right? Imagine you're flying on an airplane and you're asking, when are we going to land? And they're like, well, it may be at some point we'll land. They're like, what the hell does that mean at some point? Like, when are we going to land? Right? Especially with someone that may be predisposed to anxiety already. And this is now becoming one additional thing that is causing you to stress out. So the lack of specificity can be a problem. So I want you to be very, very specific. Be specific because you have a plan, and let your brain know that there's a plan until it calms the heck down. Like these things that I've described may sound pretty simple. And the reason why it sounds simple is that I believe in simple finance. I believe in simple paths to building wealth and creating the life that we have. Like, I'm not trying to prove a point here. I'm not trying to, there's no ego here at work. So the key is this. If you answer those three questions, if you do those three things that I've told you to do, and answer this question and dig into the reason what you're making the presence or absence of debt mean about you, it will give you freedom. I cannot tell you how many people have come into our program and they've literally been able to have what I call freedom, freedom with debt, even though they have debt, but now they have more peace of mind so that they can have the mental capacity to be able to create a plan and execute the plan. And by the way, guess what else you're doing when you're like stressed out about money? You're shopping. You're spending more. So it literally is of no advantage for you to not sleep well at night, right? The other thing that I've seen happen when people figure out a plan is their countenance changes. Now they're no longer going to be focusing on debt, debt, debt. They're now going to have the mental capacity to be able to focus on investment. And I've told you guys in the past, investment is how you create wealth. It's not by saving. It's not just by paying debt off. When you pay off your debt, you don't finally be free. No, the key is this. This information that I've shared with you today has the potential to help you sleep better at night, pay down and off your debt, which means also decreasing the total amount of interest that you potentially pay on that debt. If you would go from learning to taking action, because learning only isn't what creates freedom. It's learning and then now taking action. That's what does it. So I hope this episode has been of value to you. If it has been, I would absolutely love it if you can share it on social media. There's so many other people that are struggling with the same thing that you're struggling with. And again, it doesn't matter how much your net worth is. I've literally coached people with multiple seven figures, multiple six figures, like the whole gamut, zero net worth, about the same principle. It applies. It applies as long as you want to build wealth, as long as you want to live a life of freedom before the age of retirement. This is something that you're probably going to address. And that is why I decided to talk to you guys on the podcast today. So text it to your girlfriends, share it on social media, and tag me because I'd love to give you a shout out. And of course, if you listen to this podcast and you've never left us a review, I would love it if you took a couple of minutes to scroll to the bottom if you listen on the podcast and leave us a review on whatever platform you're in. It's literally how other women physicians can find us. And if you're also watching this on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know the ahas, what you're taking away from here. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to address on the podcast or on the YouTube, please go ahead and type that in as well so that we can do more to serve you. That's my job this season, is to serve you, to help women physicians create the life of freedom that they deserve. Because when you're well, it's not just a benefit to you, it benefits all of us. So I love you guys. I hope this has been helpful. I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.